It's great to see everybody. Start off with Scout Team Players of the Week, Charlie Robinson and Case Long. Pretty cool, two West Texas guys that helped us win with their efforts throughout the week. Man, we are playing a really good football team on Saturday, and we need your help. I know we're sold out. There's a lot of things. You're going to be incredible Saturday, but, man, we need y'all to affect this game. On third down, really anytime they have the offense, but on third down, I think it's really important how loud Jones AT&T is. And so, man, just really need your help. Some exciting things that are possible. When you're there, you got the opportunity. We're 121 yards away from breaking Hanspard's record, and so I'm fired up for Taj, and I know the offense will be prepared to do that. Man, I'm excited to see a good friend. Dion and I have a lot of connections. Like I've told y'all before, I got to coach his oldest son, Bucky. Dion Jr., he runs all his social media and does a lot of different things for that university. Man, he was a special football player, just like his other two sons. And so I'm excited to see him. He has done a phenomenal job this year. There's a lot of people that questioned if he could get that program turned around, and he has. They're bowl eligible. They're 4-1 in conference, and we're sitting here 4-2. So it's a huge game. I believe we're facing two of the best college football players in the country. One is probably the leader in the Heisman right now, Travis Hunter. I mean, he's a generational player. I keep thinking back, and you'd have to go a long way back. I know there's been different guys that have been able to play both sides of the ball, but this guy's going to take over 100 snaps on Saturday and play at an elite level. I mean, as good as anybody in the country, and so he deserves to be in the mix and probably the leader. And then, in my opinion, I think that Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in college football. If I was an NFL GM and I had a pick to where I needed a quarterback, he'd be the first quarterback taken in this year's draft. He should be, and so I have a lot of respect for him. I still remember both his sons that we're going to play on Saturday running around. We both coached in the Under Armour game together multiple times, and Garrett and his sons running around throwing the ball whenever they were younger. It's really cool to see how they've grown up, and going back, I did have a note talking about Dion. The one thing that I was always so impressed with Dion is what kind of dad he is and what kind of dad he was. Me being a high school coach, I dealt with a lot of helicopter parents, and he is the farthest thing. We had a game against DeSoto. It was on national stage, 12,000 people, sold out. And, I asked him, hey, do you want me to make sure you got a place to sit? And he goes, Coach, I'm sitting in the extra seats in the end zone. You don't have to worry about me, but I'll be there to watch. And so that's just kind of the person he is. I think the world of him. But, I'm excited that this is in Lubbock. We will be ready to go. Our team is excited about this game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Said it at the start of the year. It's really important for us to play meaningful games in November. We took a step back and didn't think that we would be able to do that after back-to-back losses, and we turned around and won a great game, a great team win on Saturday, and it put us right back in the mix. So got an opportunity. We've got to make the most of it. It starts with it started yesterday with our walkthrough, and today's their off day. They'll watch a lot of film, start getting the game plan introduced to them, and then we'll have a great practice tomorrow. With that, I'll open up for questions.
Coach, you kind of talked about it just now, but it seems like you guys are right back in the mix. Things go the right way. You could find yourself in Arlington the end of the season. I guess, how big is this weekend, and I guess what's it like being able to play a meaningful game in November, kind of what you talked about all year?
Yeah, it's huge. The biggest thing that we talked about yesterday as a team is, once again, make it about the football. There's a lot of things. I mean, it is awesome that it's Big Noon. It's great that we're going to play on a national stage. It's great that we're playing such a great football team in Colorado. we're wearing Patrick Mahomes uniforms. All that's awesome. If we get caught up in that, then we're not going to take advantage of the opportunity we have. So we got to make it about the football. That's going to be a driving theme all week on what we need to do. And so, we've got our hands full. I mean, offensively, they're as good as anybody in the country, especially at their skill positions. As good as Travis is, every single one of their receivers are big-time players. And then defensively, they're playing really well. You're talking about a defense that's made huge improvements throughout the season. It's really impressive. And so we've got to make it about the football, and that's going to be the theme of the week.
Yeah, it seems like when you talk about their defense, they just keep coming along. It seems like their defensive line is playing with extreme effort, and they rally the ball, they get off blocks. I'm just curious about what you think the challenges might be to get Taj going, or even break that record that we've been talking about all year.
Yeah, they do, and they hit the quarterback. I think they're leading the conference in sacks. The one thing that we do and we'll continue to do is, our personnel. I think our personnel helps create confusion whenever you can get, an 11 personnel and give 10 looks. You can get in 12 personnel, give 10 looks. You can get in 13 personnel with the tight ends we have. What Zach does with the motion and shifts creates issues, and so we're going to try to do that, and then, you got to continue to understand that no matter who we're facing, Taj Brooks is just a different dude, man. I've never been around a guy like him, more of a complete running back, more of a complete teammate, more of a leader, and this means a lot to him, but y'all know, I've talked a lot about it. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to this offensive line. And when Taj is in a good spot and playing well, the Red Raiders usually play well. And so that's going to be a big part of the game plan of what we do, because, at the end of the day, whenever you start creating extra surfaces with tight ends and moving them around, how they get lined up and what they do, I think it can help us take advantage of some of the run game.
What's the defensive game plan this week? Because they run a lot of 10 personnel. They spread you out. They like to throw it all over the place. So is there a key to stop this offense, or is it just try to out-athlete and just try and win the football game?
That's a great question. That is we have to hit the quarterback. What's crazy though is, or not what's crazy, it's impressive the weight gain that he's had from last year to this year. And the muscle that he's put on, he takes a lot of hits, and man, he is a tough guy. He just keeps getting back up, but the times that people have done that, it's affected some of the throws and stuff like that. I thought Baylor did a really good job with that, pressuring him. Nebraska did a really good job pressuring him. So we've got to be able to do that, but we also got to do some stuff that K-State did, where you kind of mix some of the drop 8 in and stuff like that. But it's one of those deals that you're not going to stop what he does. You've just got to hope that you're slowing him down. And then the one thing that we've done well all year long on defense is take the ball away. We created a turnover against Iowa State with Jacob Rodriguez punching the ball out. That was the first fumble they've had all season long. That's something that's been a big emphasis on, for us. And so we've got to be able to take the ball away to generate a couple extra possessions for our offense.
Coach, who on the offensive line has shown you the greatest growth this year so far?
There's a couple. So Dusty Voracek did our game this last week, and on Friday, whenever they come to the hotel to talk to us about our game, he brought up Davion Carter, DC, and the things that he can do at the size that he's at is absolutely amazing. And so I think he is what we thought he was, but he's even more, having him on campus. I mean, I'm really impressed with that kid, and his leadership has shown up. He wants to be a coach. He's got a high football IQ, so I thought he's done a really good job. The last couple of weeks, honestly, Sheridan Wilson, going back, I didn't think he played great against Cincinnati. Since that game has really grown, there's things that we still got to keep getting better at. We're having too many procedure penalties. But he's had a really good last couple of weeks, and so we're going to need that out of him. Those are the two guys that really show up.
You're 20-3 when leading after 3 quarters. How does this team fight in the fourth quarter different?
We've got the one thing that this team, and it happened last week, and it happened against TCU, and it didn't happen against Baylor. I mean, this team really plays off of each other. I thought one of the important parts of the game, and one of the important parts of the game the week before was, anytime we give up a score, the offense answers, and/or if the offense doesn't, we turn around and get a stop. And I think we got to continue that through 4 quarters. We've got to play off of each other. It keeps the energy up, and understand that we got to be comfortable in close games. I mean, that was the message at halftime. Even they took the lead right there at the end. This is the kind of game that we're used to, and 5 out of our 6 conference games have been 1-score games, and so we'll be comfortable with that, and that's what you want. You want an opportunity in the fourth quarter to win the game.
The fan base has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly from this team this year. How has overcoming adversity helped your team for these last 3 games?
I credit the captains. I credit Barron and Caleb and Taj and Jacob Rodriguez and Bryce Ramirez of just holding this team accountable, holding the coaches accountable, and pushing this team. And then I think culturally we've got a really good locker room. We've got a bunch of grown men that can take the good, the bad, and the ugly, and keep coming back every single week and making it about the football. When you make it about the football, then you can usually steady the course and keep getting better, and that's what we try to do.
Coach, the program is 7-2 in November under you, 9-2 if you count December as well. What's allowed the program and the team to have so much success at the end of the season, and what do you have to do to keep that going this year?
Yeah, I think the belief in what we're doing, and then I think also, like, I'll give you an example, like Harvey Dyson. He's played his best football the last 2 games, and so y'all have heard me say it before. I think CJIU's one of the best coaches I've ever been around in my life. And his guys continually get better throughout the season. But I think it's we're a coaching staff that believes in development and pouring in reps into our guys. We also don't panic when we have guys out. It's a waste of time because they're not going to be there, so you can't waste your time on wishing and hoping that they're going to be there. So there's a next man up mentality in this program. And then, kind of going back to what Sean asked, is like we really do try to make it about football, try the growth of the team, but also playing good football. And so I think there are a lot of highs and lows in the game, but I think for the season, even the lows, we really try to keep it like this. I think that's really important this week. And in this game, that's going to be a big job for me this week of keeping it like that, because there's so many things that are going on this week whenever it comes to this game before the ball's ever kicked off that we've got to stay focused and keep growing. But I think the one thing, our guys keep getting better, and there really is a belief, in what we're doing.
You mentioned Harvey Dyson having those really good last 2 weeks, but it seems like the pass rush overall has been better, and maybe even the best performance last week against Iowa State from the defensive line. What's allowed that to happen?
I think a couple things. The guys that we're sending, the guys that we're identifying that can hit the quarterback, and then, the one thing, I wish we had Duda, because Duda without a doubt can do this, but we've the last couple of weeks moved our front a lot more. Just from the standpoint, that's their strength. Like Trey McAlpin, that's one of his big strengths. I think, he had some plays that he knows that he could be better, but I thought it was one of his better games. He had a huge tackle for a loss, that they were coming out of their end zone away from the locker room, and he had a huge tackle for a loss. So I think the movement up front, and then really identifying who can get after the quarterback and making it some of those, instead of, at times a call could say, hey, we're going to bring a corner, but being able to tag that and letting Jacob Rodriguez come from that spot versus bringing a corner. You've seen some of that, and just, again, the movement. We've had a lot more movement the last couple weeks than we did against Baylor.
Curious on your decision to go for it on 4th and 6 after the pre-snap penalty.
Yeah.
Was that affected by your thought process the week before in terms of staying aggressive when it was 4th and 3 and you chose to kick field goal?
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's always we always talk about this, of learning and growing and adapting. And the week before, you're sitting there, you're 4th and 3 from your 6, kick the field goal. We talked about it, and so all week long, I'm constantly thinking of how I can be better as the head coach and the decisions I make. And I thought it was a critical situation of maintaining the momentum. And I felt really good about the play where we were 4th and 1, tried to get a timeout there, and we didn't get it. And then it goes 4th and 6. Thought Barron did a great job of staying alive and just barely missed Josh Kelly. But that's what it was. It was like, you're on the road. You're a 13.5-point dog, so nobody's giving you a chance to win this game against the number 11 team in the country who's undefeated. You got to, go after it and be aggressive, and was the mindset. And then, again, going back, that was in the back of my mind, of that TCU game of if you'd changed something, what would you have done right there?
Emily and then Zach.
Congratulations on Saturday, by the way.
Thank you.
I got 2 for you. And first want to kind of piggyback off of his. So Red Raider Nation on Twitter is calling it Jovember because you have a 9-2 winning record in November and December. I'm just curious, have you seen that? What are your thoughts on that little nickname they've got going on?
Well, I'll take it and keep it going if that means that we're winning in November. That's back whenever I was a high school coach, we always used to talk, people remember for what you do in December, because December is whenever you're making those runs, late and those playoff runs. And we were really good at that whenever we were at Cedar Hill. And so, man, it's crazy. I've gotten a lot of different texts from buddies in the college game. And I got a text last week, and it said, people remember for what you do in November. And I said, where'd you get that? And he goes, that was a sign in the OU locker room from 1970-something to 1998. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool, because it is important. That's been one of the things that we've talked about, not getting just bowl eligible in November, which is awesome that we did that, but playing a game that, keeps you in the mix. That's what Saturday does. We take care of business Saturday, then we're still in the mix to try to get to Arlington. And, at the end of the day, that's our ultimate goal as far as pushing the program forward, and really proud of these old guys. We talked about it last week at the press conference of things that we can do, and I'm proud of these seniors and these older juniors that have been here that really are continue to push this program and grow.
Heading into Saturday's game, you all were doubted heavily. It was all over social media. I'm sure you saw it. So my question is, was there any chit chat in the locker room maybe before? I know College Game Day, the Texas Tech Twitter called him out twice in a row, which I thought was really good. But just any conversations you heard between the players maybe before and after, kind of like a pep talk thing, let's go prove all these people who have not only doubted us once, but twice wrong.
Those guys, I'm sure, when you're playing, anytime you're not playing an 11 a.m. game, you got an opportunity to see what's going on throughout college football in the day, and so I'm sure our guys saw it. I didn't bring it up in our locker room and everything, but we still want to have the mentality it's us versus everyone, and you play with a chip on your shoulder, and I think that gives you an edge. We definitely the 2 weeks leading into that Iowa State game, there was a bunch of frustration and guys that really wanted to come out and prove. And what better to do it than, again, you're on a national stage and you're playing a team like that. They're a great football team, well coached. Coach Campbell does a great job. And so I imagine those guys knew it. They definitely knew it afterwards, because there's enough chit chat afterwards that they knew that they were proud to prove some people wrong.
Go Zach, then Collier.
Coach, you're 114th in the nation when it comes to penalties per game. You're 103rd in penalty yardage per game. several more pre-snap penalties, obviously, this past week as well. What has allowed this team right now to just have that? And just, is it lack of focus? Is it just in the moment? I mean, what do you see that's causing so many?
Yeah, it's a mixture. 100% lack of focus. Got some guys that are trying to be too perfect. We get one last week to where they movement and you're too deep into the snap count or to the clock to where you can change that call offensively, through the center. And so you've got to go ahead and see that on the move. Everybody saw it. You got to see it on the move. And then I'm going to tell you, Saturday, the fourth quarter, that was one of the loudest environments I've been a part of. We had 3 pre-snap penalties in the fourth quarter, and I'm telling you, we did a good job, I thought, through 3 quarters of keeping that crowd quiet. We answered when we need to. We had good good momentum. But in that fourth quarter, whenever they had the lead, I'm telling you, man, it was people that were there. I know Chris could tell you that, man, it was really loud. I've played in that stadium multiple times, and that's the loudest that I'd heard that stadium. But it was also probably the loudest that we had played up until this point in that fourth quarter. So I think, that's why I challenge our fans and ask for their help, because it made a difference, man, in that fourth quarter. But a lot of it is discipline, and, whenever the defense moves, you've got, if it's early, really early, you might have a chance to, re-identify the front, but you got to let it go whenever it's that late. And then, there's sometimes that you got to let the play ride. So we had one on the center and we had one on the quarterback to where they were trying to get to a different play, too late. And I understand it, because there's some thoughts of being perfect right there, but, your effort and your execution of whatever's called, has got to overcome that versus you trying to be perfect.
And here we are another week talking about a 1-possession win. You're 5-1 this year. That's tied, or that's the best in the nation right now with having those 5 1-possession wins. What has allowed this team to continue to, have those 1-score games once again, but be able to come out on top of those? Yeah,
we do. We talk about it. I mean, even getting at halftime. I mean, I brought that up. Like we're comfortable where we're at. I mean, you don't sleep a lot after the game, and Bobby, who's our team chaplain, he asked me yesterday, he goes, what time did you go to bed? And I was like, this time, he goes, man, I couldn't go to sleep till like 3-something in the morning because of the adrenaline. So, it's very stressing, but I think our guys are comfortable with that, and we've got to be. I mean, it goes back to the question before. If you're going to have these pre-snap penalties, if you're going to have, a blown coverage, if you're going to give a touchdown up right before half, then with the details, you're going to be in really close games. And so if you're going to be in close games, you got to be comfortable winning those close games and not panicking. And that's one thing our guys and our coaching staff, they don't do. There's not a lot of panic. And then you can't worry in the moment, about what you just did. You got to get to what's next. That's one of our themes. It's always been for the last 3 years of when good things happen, what's next? When bad things happen, what's next? And so it's allowed us. I don't necessarily want to be there, but if we're there, then we're going to find a way to win the game.
Coach, a lot of people noticed your emotional speech in the post-game interview. A lot of other people noticed your ear. What happened to the ear? So, pregame speeches and excitement and all that stuff. One of our strength coaches got a little too excited and threw a trash can, a big trash can, one of those big, thick. And so I thought I ducked enough, but I did not, and so it hit me in the ear. My ear never hurts. My neck and shoulder is a little sore, but I might take another trash can in the head if that means that we're going to win the game. But just excitement and pregame, guys getting fired up. I said we got to find something else besides that. It was right before I gathered the team up, and it's kind of funny. I didn't address it then because I was like, in the moment, we just got to get to what's next. It was the same thing. He thought I was going to probably
go nuts and start yelling. But man, we had something to do, and so that's what happened. And cut the ear, and looked worse than what it was. Just the stuff that they had to put on it for it to stop bleeding.
Non-game related question. I figured why not?
Good.
While we're here, how much fun did you guys have with the gentleman that is going to have to get a tattoo because of talking too much?
You know, I know they showed me that, but I know Kitley and especially Kenny Perry. Y'all know Kenny Perry. He's a different dude. You know, it was fun. You know, it's fun right now with, you know, college football and different things on social media and everything of people saying a lot of different things throughout the country of what they're going to do if so-and-so wins. So it's always fun.
Go Cold and Jeff and Don.
This is a game-related question.
Good. I'll take all of them.
You guys have played a lot of good wide receivers this year, McMillan with Arizona, then Higgins last week. Did you learn anything that you can apply towards defending Travis Hunter? I know he's a different animal.
Yeah. Man, you know, I thought Knowles and Higgins, I mean, there's two guys, NFL guys. McMillan's going to be a number 1 draft pick, another guy. The tough thing about, like, last week and then this week is, like, last week you have multiple guys. This week you have, I mean, everybody that they're going to put on the field as far as skill position, wide receiver position, honestly, are going to have a chance to play in the NFL, you know, and so it really puts a lot of stress on your DBs. That's why it's so important to have a good pass rush on Saturday. But, man, he's going to me, what we have to do, and it's what Nebraska did, is, you know, we've got to be able to get to the quarterback, but then we also have to make them drive the ball, you know, limit explosive plays. And we've got to tackle well on Saturday to make them take more snaps than what they're used to, you know. And we were able to do that 2 weeks ago against a really good receiving staff, receiving core and TCU, because they've got some dudes. But then we didn't in the fourth quarter and gave up some big plays, and that was the difference in the game. And then this last week we were able to sustain that longer, and it helped us win. So that's going to be really important, us getting to the quarterback and then us tackling and then open the field.
Go up to Jeff. Defense with Don.
Coach, long gone are the days where games aren't on TV anymore, and you guys have been on national TV before, including this season earlier. But with the pregame show in town this week, that adds an extra layer of awareness, and it also adds an extra layer of responsibilities for your team and your coaching staff. How do you handle that this week, and also keeping your guys focused on why they're here, being the game on Saturday?
Yeah, you know, I think the players just got to be themselves, you know, and not make it too much about the show and everything like that. I think it's really important that it's on the coaching staff to get these guys ready. It's on me to get these guys ready, you know, because you have an opportunity. It's big for recruiting. You know, we've got 3 official visits this weekend, some big-time national players, you know, and so that's going to be – the environment's going to be great for them. But at the end, you know, when that ball is kicked off, it's all about the football, and we've got to concentrate on that. You know, you can't – when people start operating outside of that and trying to do more than what they've been doing or what they're coached to do, that's whenever you get yourself in a bad situation, you know. And so we've got to be able to control our emotions and focus on playing really good football. I mean, I think the start of the game is going to be really important. I think that, you know, first half is important to keep our crowd really engaged. So we've got to do a good job on both sides of the ball with that, and then just keep focusing on football. I think more than anything, though, it's on the coaching staff to get these guys ready.
Nathan, then Don.
What kind of response did you see from Barron, especially when he started off so well, went through that stretch where he just couldn't really connect on anything, and then leads that game-winning drive for you?
Yeah, it was awesome because, you know, I think he was 11 for 11 or 11 for 12, and then we go on, you know, a period after those first 2 drives, 2 things, you know, after the first 2 drives, Taj didn't touch the ball enough, you know, so it's like, honestly, if you look, I mean, Taj is the engine. Taj makes everything happen, whether even if he doesn't get a yard, which that happens. But I think that's really important because it keeps Barron, that where they share the load versus one taking the load or the majority of the load. I think that happened really in that part of after the first 2 drives of that ending that second half. I think it's important. So it's important to get Taj going on Saturday. And then, man, I was really proud of Barron, man. He stayed calm. He didn't let the plays that earlier in the game affect him late in the game. I thought Josh Kelly came up with some huge catches. That guy's something special, and he's really special, on third down. I think there's going to be some really good matchups in this game, because as much as I talk about them and their offense and who they are, Caleb Douglas is going to play in the NFL. Josh Kelly's going to play in the NFL. Taj Brooks is going to play in the NFL. Mason Tharp's going to play in the NFL. Jalen Conner's going to play in the NFL. Baron Morton's going to play in the NFL. Coy Aiken's going to play in the NFL. So they, just as much as us having to deal with them, they're going to have to deal with us. I mean, I feel like offensively, this is just as talented as anybody they've played all year long too. And so whenever you're looking at that, we're going to give them problems just like they're going to give us problems. It's going to be the team that, limits explosive plays and tackles the most. But going back, I was really proud of Barron, man. Barron's growth since last spring to now has been absolutely amazing, man. I'm so proud of him. And, I got to talk to him earlier today. He and Kitley were already going through, because Kitley gets a lot of his normal down and distance done really early Monday morning so he can meet with, the quarterbacks, before lunch. And they were already talking about, what they see and everything like that.
Mentioned the importance of Taj to your offense, but is Jacob Rodriguez that important part to the defense too? Yeah,
100%. You see whenever we played our best, I think, you look at this year, our best 2 games defensively is probably Arizona and Iowa State. And, it's no coincidence that Jacob's had the best game of his life in those 2 games. He's Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. And it's funny, not funny, I thought it was funny. I was trying to be funny. I sent him a text and sent him the graphic, and, Jacob's married, and I said, Emma and your mom the only one that care about this if you don't play good this week. And so, I mean, it's one of those things we always mess with each other. That's kind of our running joke of nobody cares, get to what's next. And so I think it's really important. He will have a really good game, but that defense really plays off of how he plays.
Joey, quick follow-up. Did you get stitches in that ear?
No, they were able to, whatever they have, our doctors are amazing. They had that's what made it look worse than what it was, because of the clotting stuff to where it wouldn't bleed so much. Because there's a little hunk taken out of it, not a lot, but a little hunk taken out of it. And so it's just character. It's good for you. Builds character.
More serious subject. With Texas and Oklahoma having left the conference, now you're a couple of months into it. How well do you think other teams have risen up to fill the void with, I guess, what BYU's done, with what Iowa State has done, with Colorado kind of coming on? And how would you assess the caliber of Big 12 football at this point?
Yeah, this conference is so tough. Al Luganbill is a good friend of mine. Probably some of y'all might know his son, Tom Luganbill, that does, he's a sideline reporter and quarterback guru. And Al coached for a long time. He was a head coach, at the college level, and has been in the NFL. And he sent me a text the other day, and he goes, man, it's fun to be a fan of the Big 12, but I'd hate to be coaching in this conference because it is such a good conference from top to bottom. And it's good. It's good for the conference to have BYU undefeated, and it's good for the conference to have Colorado doing what they're doing, and every single week you look up and say, man, I didn't expect that score. Willie Fritz, what he's doing at Houston right now, I mean, that was a huge win. That's a team right now that's as hot as anybody. They've had some big wins the last few weeks, beating TCU, beating K-State. And so it's a conference that from top to bottom is really, tough, and it's hard to predict. You think about the teams that at the start of the year that everybody said, hey, this was the team that's going to win the conference, or these are the top 2 or 3 teams, and that's not who it is. It's really the teams that are at the top are the ones that were at the middle of the pack, or even, at the bottom of the prediction of who would do what. And so I think it's going to be like that, from really here on out, and you just got to take advantages of each week of being at your best.
Considering, obviously, the first CFP rankings are not out yet, but there's only one Big 12 team that's in the top 12 in the polls. Do you have a sense for the likelihood of the Big 12 being able to get more than one team in the CFP, or what's going to have to happen to accomplish that?
Yeah, it's I hope so. It's interesting. The CFP, to me, because you've gone to 12 doesn't mean as much as what it used to, because of to get into 4 and how high you got to move up to get to 4, because you know that you are going to get 4 conference champions in there. What would probably have to happen is I would think BYU go undefeated, and then them getting beat in the conference championship game. I think you'd have to put 2 Big 12 teams in there, and again, you look across college football and I don't know. I know there's a couple teams out there, that are really, really good, that are tough, but I don't know why you would put 3 or 4 teams from every conferences and leave at least 2 Big 12 teams out. I mean, I think the Big 12 should have 2 without a doubt every single year, and then there's going to be years that you're going to have more than 2.
All right, that'll do it for Coach. Well, Coach Drew.
All right, thank y'all.
Coach, we've talked all year about how you guys have struggled in the secondary, but you guys played a really good game, created a turnover, and got another big challenge this week. Could you speak on just the skill positions that they have, and obviously Travis Hunter's their best player?
Yeah, really big challenge this week. Probably the best. I don't even think probably they're the best group of receivers that we have faced to date. They remind me of the Baylor group back in 2010, 2011, when they had 4 guys that were the starting 4x100 track guys, because that's what they run like. It's led by Hunter, elite athlete, really, really good football player, and the fact that he does it on both sides is unbelievable. To play as hard as he does, it's just, he's a unicorn. And then you got a quarterback who's a Heisman Trophy candidate that's really playing well, extremely poised, reads coverages very, very well, can throw the ball on the run, can extend plays, so creates a lot of issues there. So it's a big challenge for our guys.
Over the last couple of weeks, I've really seen Harvey Dyson come along, and I was really impressed with what Braylon Rigsby was able to do, getting off blocks, playing fast. I guess, how do you feel that the young guys on the defensive line have been able to step up and, create some pass rush over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, we feel we're a developmental program. We take pride in playing better in November than we do in September, because we want to practice extremely hard and work on our craft. And I think, Harvey's a great indicator of that. He's into his 3rd fall. He is much more productive even later in the year than he was early in the year. And so it's a great testament to him and Coach Ayu and what the work they put in. And, Braylon was a guy who was down a little bit in training camp weight-wise. He had gone through an illness, and so he didn't start right away, and then was at edge for us for a little bit, and he's gotten some of his weight back, so we put him back inside, and he really played well, I thought, on Saturday. Very, very active, did a tremendous job of chasing the ball. There's a play that he's rushing the passer, gets pressure on the quarterback. It's thrown about 10 yards down the field. We missed the tackle, and he finishes it up down the field. And, for a freshman to do those kind of things is really, really impressive.
Coach, long gone are the days where games aren't on TV anymore. You guys have played on national TV already this year, but with the pregame show in town this week, that adds an extra level of distraction. How do you keep your guys focused this week on what's the game Saturday, which is why they're here, and keep them going where they need to be focused while everybody else is trying to pull them away from that?
Well, I think it's awesome for our fans, for all of our alumni, for our school to get the Texas Tech brand out there on Saturday on a national scale. But Coach has a great message, and none of that matters. It's all about the football, and that message is going to be echoed. It's something that we preach each and every week, that the more you win, the more focus it's going to happen. But you've got to eliminate those distractions and find a way to go out and win. Last week we played a top 25 team, probably got a little bit more attention than normal, and it didn't affect our guys. I mean, we know we've got a ton of work on our side to do. We've got to get much better at tackling. We got to get much better at preventing big plays, communicating. And they did a lot of things last week with all the different personnel groupings and shifts and motions that stress you at that, and that's why they're successful in a lot of ways. But we've got to be able to get lined up, get our cleats in the ground, get our eyes where they need to be, and really be disciplined in our techniques and our leverage, because if you get your eyes in the wrong place, someone's going to be by you in a hurry. And with Sanders extending the play, he does a great job of finding those guys. You just turn someone loose, he's going to find them.
And I don't know if you've seen that. I'm sure you have. Jacob Rodriguez picked up Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week honors. How special is that for what he means to this program and the struggles that you guys have had on defense to still get that kind of recognition from the people?
Well, I think it's a great testament to who he is as a captain, as a person. He's not a very vocal guy, but everybody on our defense sees how hard he practices, trains, holds himself to a standard, studies the game, takes drill work to the field. You see him punching the ball all the time. We work on that weekly. I think there's an evolution to defensive players when you're first starting to play and everything's so fast, you're just worried about getting a guy down. He's into that flow state now where he knows my job is not just to make a tackle, but to get balls out. And he looks for opportunities all the time to do that, and created a big-time takeaway that we needed to get off the field there in the red zone. I'm just really impressed with what he's done and how far he's come, and we need another performance like that this week to slow these guys down.
There's been a lot of talk about J-Rod, and deservedly so, but Ben Roberts also had a big effect on that game and has when the defense has had success. What does he bring in terms of physicality, and then as a blitzer here recently? Yeah,
that's I think probably a second caused interception. He does a really nice job. He made the back miss. He almost got cut, but got up, got in the quarterback's face to either tip it or at least disrupt it enough where AJ was able to pick it. He plays extremely hard. We probably need to take some reps off of him as the game wore on. I think he got a little tired. I think we've got some good guys behind him, and John Curry's getting better every week. Mike Dingle, we've got to probably do a better job so that he can play as hard as he does at a little bit less of a rep, count, so that he doesn't get into that tired phase. I think in the fourth quarter, he was going as hard as he could, but it just wasn't as much gas in the tank.
Curious your thoughts on Chapman Lewis's progression. A lot was put on his plate going into the season. He's battled a lot of injuries, but challenging game last week, but he made some plays. What do you think about how he's done?
We think the world of Chap. I think he's got an extremely bright future, but the problem is he got to play right now. He is one of the guys I think on our back end that in a lot of ways is an eraser for us. He's a very good open field tackler. Not perfect, none of our guys are, but he's got a knack for being in the right place at the right time. And he was there to get the takeaway on Jacob's forced fumble. He seems to always be making that if we got one guy left, he's going to get him down. He gets him down most of the time. He does a great job, communicating things. And then, like Rabbit, because he learned from him, he's doing a better job each and every week of anticipating, hey, what's the formation? What could they go to? What check do we need to get into? Start alerting people beforehand. And like I said, I think his best future football is ahead of him. But he's the best we have right now at that position, and he's playing better every week.
And more movement up front on the defensive line. What went into that decision, and how do you feel like it affected the game against Iowa State?
Well, every year you've got different guys, right? And for the last 2 years with Tony and J-Bug, very stout guys, very experienced guys. We can be in a little bit more static fronts, and they were going to two-gap and do some great things. Well, we've got some younger guys that aren't quite as developed, and so we've got to give them some advantages by moving at times. And I think our guys at this stage in their careers probably play better with some movement tags to what they do. Now, we still are going to line up and do some of our base stuff, but being able to have some pass rush games, being able to, run some pressures and some simulated pressures and just keep mixing the picture up and hopefully, making it a little bit more confusing for the quarterback so that he's got to hold on to that ball a little bit longer, trying to figure out what's happening on the back ends, creating enough time. And then I think, CJ and Z do a really good job of studying protections and getting us into some pass rush games that are effective. And so I think the combination of those things is what's helped us.
We'll go Collier, then Don.
Coach, you talked about Travis Hunter, the wide receiver. I don't know. I know you probably don't watch much of the other film, but what makes him such a good defensive back, and which one do you think he's better at? Not to say that he's bad at one. I'm just saying which one do you think he's better at?
I don't know. I just have to worry about him on the receiving side. I know he's an extremely explosive player, runs tremendous routes. I think he's got 60 catches and maybe one drop. He's a guy that just, again, certain guys have that knack of knowing when to burst, when to, choke it down, when to go up and get it. When they go into scrambled drills, he's a guy that's going to get himself open. And, of course, Sanders is going to find him a bunch of those times. On defense, I watched the Baylor game on TV, and so to see him make that play at the end, extremely impressive. I know his movement skills and his physicality as a receiver obviously translates well as a corner. The guy's going to get paid no matter what he decides to do or whatever team drafts him decides to do with him. He's a unicorn. He's a unique talent.
Tim, before you had the breakdown there at the end on that last touchdown pass, there had been 8 series on Saturday where they were inside your 35-yard line and only got 1 touchdown. How did you feel that you guys performed in those circumstances where you had to rise up and get stops, force field goals, and get off the field?
Right. I was really proud of our grit and our resilience of our guys, because a lot of times you get backed up, and with all the multiplicity of what they do, Iowa State on offense, you have to think, you got to see things, you got to adjust, you got to communicate, and yet our guys were still able to focus and force them to either punt the ball or we got a takeaway on a bunch of those drives. We talk all the time about we aren't going to make 100% of our tackles, but we have to have 100% effort of guys getting there. And, I gave you the example of Braylon when we did have a missed tackle. He's right there to make it just a 10-yard gain as opposed to it breaking further. I think our guys are doing a better job of chasing the ball hard. A great example is they got the ball down inside the 1-yard line, originally call it a score. It gets reviewed. Then they get backed up because of a penalty, and we end up having to, instead of giving them 7 points, they only get 3. I mean, those are huge plays in the ball game, but and consider you only win the game by 1 point. But was really proud. We had some situations where there was some sudden change, and I thought our guys on the one the first one did a great job, went 3 and out. The second one we had a busted coverage, and we got to do a better job and clean that up.
Coach, with Bryce Ramirez sidelined for a second game, I guess what does his role look like? I know he's one of the more vocal and intelligent guys on your defense. Kind of what is his role on the sideline for you with these games?
Well, we weren't able to bring him last week, because of the travel rule. but he's at all of our practices. He's in our meetings. I talked to him before the game. He's a guy that lives through, excuse me, his teammates, and so he's always going to be that heart and soul of our defense and our team. He's got such a big voice because guys have seen how hard he works and the results of all that hard work. And thankfully, we're at home again this week, so he'll be a big voice during practice and on our sideline. And I'm fired up about it because nobody wants the Red Raiders to win more than he does.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
There's a lot of talk about Taj, his carries being limited in the first half. He ends up with 25 carries for the game. I'm curious how much of your thought process is managing his load and just how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think each week we go in kind of on that 25 to 30 cusp, touches for him, and kind of just depend on how we get there. I thought we came out firing, man. I thought it was maybe the two best drives Barron had all season, coming out really, really hot, seeing the field really well, delivering the ball. And I thought we did a great job going down there, getting 2 touchdowns. One got called back. We ended up getting 3 there. And that third drive, man, I felt like we had a good drive starter there, and we get sacked, and then we get a false start, and you're in 2nd and 21, and now we're behind the chains. And but that's kind of the thought process early, and then, man, it was tough sledding for us. We were trying to throw some timing routes. We were slipping and falling. We were having to run around back there trying to get some guys open at times. And so we kind of just went back to old school, went with some tempo runs and stuff like that late that hit us. And, extremely late in the game, they were starting to play more two-man coverage. When they're playing two-man coverage, we got to hand the ball off a little bit because the passing game's tough. So I'd say that's just kind of how it goes. Again, we're trying to get that 25, 30 touches, and you'd like to spread it out as much as you can. But, again, I just felt early on in that game with what we were doing with Barron, those first couple of drives, thought he was firing well and seeing it good. And so just trying to keep him on the hot hand.
There were a couple important situations where Conyers was using the Wildcat and there were penalties. Game on the line, you go, it's a different look, of course, with Taj receiving the snap, but you go right back to him in the backfield in the Wildcat look. What gave you the confidence to go back to that in such a critical moment?
Yeah, man, so it's kind of funny going into this game. This season, of the games we broke down 15 plays inside the 5-yard line by Iowa State's defense. There had been 4 positive plays. And I'm not talking touchdowns. I'm talking 1-yard gains or more, 4 total. They were extremely well coached, and it's just hard down there. I don't know how to explain it. And we felt like some trying to catch the edge on them was our best bet. We didn't feel like going in. There'd be a whole lot of just shove it down vertically in there. It's on some inside zone or some power or something like that. We feel like we had to get some outside zone around the edge. So that was actually that play we called there late was a late ad Wednesday. Just something that, looking back at the goal line again, just didn't love a lot of stuff, and I added it late. And decided to put 28 as the ball carrier versus 12 on that one, and paid off.
What was your mindset going into that final drive? All the pressure, everything on the line, just as the play caller, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, honestly, during those scenarios, I kind of almost feel the most at home. Just because I feel like I can go back to like my extreme roots of what I learned and get in 2x2 and 10 personnel and play fast and do some of those things. And we just felt like there was a couple of things that we probably should have tried to hit earlier on some double moves on some stuff, and we ended up throwing a couple. We didn't connect on them, but we caught our footing on some of those, and we had some guys open. So we just felt good about making some adjustments right before that last one, and we felt like we had some good calls in, and man, it worked out for us. Again, I thought Barron was on that last drive, Taj was on that last drive, and we came together as a football team at that moment and got it done.
Coach, kind of on that same note, how big of a challenge is it playing at Iowa State with the tall grass, especially it was really wet and you're slipping all over the place? Does that change your mentality as a play caller, trying to maybe run a little more? And I know it's a tough defense to run it against, but
yeah, again, early on in the game, the grass was still pretty slick early on, but it wasn't as bad, because we didn't get the rain until the second half there. But it does a little bit, man. I mean, they did some adjustments. Clearly they went and watched our North Texas and Cincinnati game. We were trying to do some similar schemes, just getting to it different ways. And they came out and played a completely different defensive front than they are accustomed to. They went with the odd front with the double three techniques, really trying to force Taj to go outside. And we're trying to get Taj inside there as much as we can. That's his game. And again, they had a good plan for us, and that's why late in the game, man. I mean, it's still kind of crazy. We started just running inside zone, even into that front, and we knew we could just try to hit it out the front door. Even though schematically, when you look at it on paper, that's not a great run. But just with how they were playing it, we felt like he could just get out the front door, but still not trying to circle the defense as much as getting downhill. But yeah, I mean, it was tough, man. I mean, again, it's kind of crazy when you go back and watch it. I mean, we're falling all over the place, and but I mean, that's part of it, and we got to adjust and try to do some things where we can, when it comes to pass game, you got to just try to have good footing. It's tough.
Looking at this weekend, it seems like this Colorado defensive line plays extreme effort. They tackle really well. They blow up the backside of runs, seems like to me. And I guess what are the keys to attack these guys? Because it seems like they play with great effort everywhere.
Yeah, they're really good, man. I think I don't know much about this defensive coordinator. I know it's his first year calling it, and I think they're really starting to find rhythm now in what they're trying to do defensively. He is an old NFL guy, so you see a lot of NFL type defense there with a lot of 4 down. I mean, they like to put those edge rushers wide and try to get after the quarterback, and they've done a really good job of that. I believe they're probably first in the conference in sacks, I think, right now. But they play extremely hard. They're coached really well. Got a lot of talented skill players in the back end. Clearly led by Travis Hunter there. But man, they're coached really well. They're playing extremely hard right now. They got a lot of confidence, a lot of momentum. Again, I think you go back and watch these last 2 to 3 games. I mean, they're doing a really good job. And so we're gonna have to have a good run plan as always. Get 28 rolling early. Try to pop some runs with him and get the quarterback settled in. And then we're going to have to take some shots on him too. A lot of man coverage, a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and we're going to have to put the ball up and go make some plays.
Collier, Ty, and Nathan.
Could you give us a little more on Travis Hunter? What makes him so special as a defensive back?
Man, he's a freak, man. I mean, he's really good with his hands at the line of scrimmage, getting hands on guys. He's extremely fast. He's long. Has a knack for the football. He's kind of like a ball hawk kind of guy. I mean, you see a couple. I think he only has 2 picks on the season, but he's around the ball a lot. And I just think he's a very instinctual player. Man, just brings a lot to the table athletically and physically. And I mean, a lot of people, when you watch the game, a lot of people aren't throwing at him, and there's a reason for that. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick, I'm assuming, this next year. And just all that stuff, like I said, man, and clearly he's playing both ways for him too, and special on offense. But just a rare athlete, man. I haven't seen a guy like that in a really long time that's played it both ways at this high of a level.
I know you have a lot of career goals, but was being tattooed on a fan on that list?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. No, all fun and games there, man. I haven't been on social media a lot as of late, but that was sent to me by multiple people, and I love our fan base, and it's all in fun and games. And from what him and I've actually, he messaged me, and we've messaged back and forth a little bit on Twitter. And from what I understand, Friday afternoon he's going to have that my signature on his cheek there, so that'll be good. I did, yeah. I gave him the play call for that touchdown with Taj. He asked for that, and then my signature. So I'll be forever on whichever cheek it is of the guy. So no, all good, man. All fun.
Coach, I know it's you and Taj's number 1 priority on Saturday to win the game in front of you. But is there any intention to kind of set the game plan up for Taj to get that record at home?
Yeah, I wouldn't say set the game plan for it necessarily, but don't get me wrong. I'd love to do that for him at home, because he's had 100 yards every game this season that he's played, right? So we feel good about getting that again. But I guess we got to get to that, 121, I think, threshold. And I mean, man, personally for me, I'd love for him to have that here in front of our fans here, at home, and not have to do it in 2 weeks on the road at Oklahoma State, So I wouldn't say I'm just going to give him it 48 times to get that record, but I mean, I've talked to my Coach Cochran and Coach Clay this morning about some run game stuff and some stuff that I really like, that I'm really believing in right now, and seeing if they're on the same page with it, because I'm hoping Taj can have a huge day and go get that record.
We see it all the time. Taj is one of the more humble guys on the team, but I guess you get to see him every day. What does beating a record like that mean for a player that's been so loyal to a program for this long?
Yeah, I think it just stamps his legacy here. Again, my favorite part of him is everything off the field. And, man, like, you go back and you watch that game late, man. We had some MAs up front, and my guy is back there saving Baron Morton. I mean, it's just crazy how unselfish of a football player this young man is. I mean, we tried to throw the big lob ball up to Mason Tharp, the second to last play there. And man, we had an MA on the back side of the O-line, and Taj is supposed to be on the front side of that protection, and he sees a free runner and completely lays out and takes the guy out so Baron doesn't take a hit. I mean, those are the things that we see as coaches, and man, he's just incredible. I mean, he's going to go down as by far and away one of the greatest Red Raiders of all time in all sports here. And again, the people that know him off the field, that's what they love about him even more so. He's special on the field, but more special off.
Nathan, it seemed like you guys were able to get Josh Kelly more involved in the vertical game as opposed to like the screen game, horizontal game. Was that game specific? Is that something you want to continue moving forward?
Yeah, it's one of those deals, going in, when you go back and you watch Abilene Christian, you watch North Texas, which he only played for the first half against them, and then Cincinnati especially, like he was more involved against that kind of structure of defense. So we knew it'd be a big game for him. We thought we could get some cloud corner stuff, out there on Coy and CD. So again, kind of going in, we thought it'd be a big game for Kells. But man, a couple times, man, they're just playing some man coverage on him. The first touchdown, we caught him in a great call. Coy ran his route perfect. We got it just not even supposed to be a pick there. It just worked out that way because Coy runs his route how he's supposed to run his route. Got Kells wide open on that deep ball. Some of the RPO stuff across the middle, again, picking on that middle safety and the run fit, we knew was something we could have there. Then the second touchdown with the deeper throw there, man, I mean, it was a good all-purpose play for us. We had zone beaters and man beaters, and they came out and pressed man, and Barron alerted the man seam ball right there to him. And, again, he did a great job. That's probably one of my favorite plays because that's just what we do every day in practice with the pat and go. Shield the defender off on your back, over the shoulder catch. Great ball, great catch. But, yeah, kind of just something we thought he could have a big game. And, again, against these guys, just because of how they play, their linebackers in the apex, some of those things, some of those lateral throws aren't as good. And so you're going to attack these guys a little bit more vertically. So something we thought he could have this week.
You mentioned Barron on the last drive. What did you see from him and kind of his response to that stretch where just nothing was really connecting for him, and especially in that last drive where he had those 3 incompletions that were just kind of right there to be able to get down to the end zone?
Frustration but belief, man. I mean, it's him and I both, we were fighting some frustration through that game there for a couple drives there. We just felt like we left a lot on the field. And but again, what I love about him is his resilience and his leadership. And we had a huge talk at halftime that, it was going to be one of those games where we're not going to go score 40. It was going to be a dogfight, and we got to go do whatever it takes to win a game. And he came out that second half with just unbelievable leadership, run up down the sideline, being great with the defense when they're on the field too. And then, man, I mean, again, he loves it when I start going fast and calling tempo plays. That's where he's kind of really comfortable. And so, man, I just think, he thrived there. Had a couple deep balls where, the first one we overthrew a little bit. The second one I thought was a catchable football. But, man, he did a good job that last drive, man. And, again, we never flinched as an offense or as a unit there. So it was really good. And, again, I think that starts with him and just his leadership that he was showing on the sideline.
Zach, staying on the last series, there's the sequence there with a minute and a half left where you get the false start, and that puts you in 3rd and 15, and that's when Barron runs out and gets half of it, and then makes the throw to Josh. Can you discuss a little bit just kind of your thought process during that segment?
Yeah, well, really, our whole thought process, Don, the whole time is to do everything possibly wrong to really get them on their heels. So, open the drive up with the false start, get their crowd louder. That was kind of the thought there. Get another penalty to get to 3rd and 15. No, man, not there. So it's kind of funny. I called a run play right there because I knew, again, they were playing two-man coverage, so try to get Taj on the edge a little bit. Barron felt like he had some grass in the middle, so he checked an RPO, and they covered us up. But, again, they all just flooded out of there. So that opened that up to the left. Came back with another play call there on fourth down that we had barely not caught earlier in the game to Josh Kelly right over the middle. It's kind of a bang-bang play. Could have caught it, I felt like, but this good play by the defense. And if you watch that play from the back view, there's a guy sitting right in front of him. I mean, it's right in front of Barron. So Barron throws him left on that play on purpose because of that backer standing right there. Kells makes the phenomenal catch. And then from there, we were just kind of off to the races. But, same thing. Get down there on the 1 yard line. Let's false start. So we've got to run a few more seconds off the clock there. More strategic than anything.
Back to that sequence where Barron kind of got hot then he hits Josh on the sideline on a play that went to review, and then Caleb sliding, which Taj picked up a blitzer to save him there too, it looked like, and then the pass to Jordan Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, the one to Kells on the sideline, again, kind of got flushed out of the pocket a little bit. Great job of us in scramble drill, which we really repped a lot this last week, and we weren't great at times, but when it came down to it there late, we were great in scramble drill for Kells catching that one. Came back to a play call we'd called 3 or 4 times earlier that had been successful for us. They went blitz zero on us, the one that you're talking about Taj got. Again, on that one right there, I mean, I think if the surface is a little bit different, Caleb Douglas may score on that play. But again, good catch there. Went straight back to a tempo play that we've hit them on, trying to attack that middle safety there in the middle of the field. Barron kind of fades on the throw a little bit and lobs it up at that point. So it's a little short, but great catch by Jordan right there to get us on the 1 yard line. But yeah, I thought Barron was just kind of dialed in and went where he was supposed to go with the football and gave our guys opportunities.
You mentioned a moment ago that the play that you scored on was a late ad on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
How often does something like that happen during the week?
Pretty rare, to be honest with you. I like to get in early on Mondays and try to knock it out as much as I can, because we just do normal down and distance and, some special plays and some stuff like that on Tuesday's practice. And then Wednesday you get your red zone, third downs, and goal line area stuff. But really, I was going through a cut-up of making some stuff that we're just doing in practice and got down there on the goal line, and I'm like, man, we may have some trouble punching some of these in down here. And, I knew we could circle the defense, and it just worked out for us. But it doesn't happen often. We added the one against North Texas that we kind of lined up in that diamond formation, and we added that one late, and then we added this one late. So maybe something I need to keep doing.
Good. All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.